Morning, Breakfast Clubbers! This is what we're going to do today. We're going to get the food as soon as they bring it out and ready to rock and roll and whatnot. This is what we're going to do. 2015, bottom line is, here we go. Okay, all the stuff that Don and I have been doing this for 25 years, waiting for a lot of the factors that are coming to play now. So I'm going, okay, we did 2 end-of-year shows. Bob Anderson and I did 3 hours. I did, a couple hours, Richard Gray, people, okay, that I really like openly thinking with, a lot of people in this room. So 2015 is the year of finishing. So I go, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to finish all the other stuff I knew I was supposed to do. Well, what about, I was going to finish that. Well, I thought you were going, I'm going to finish it, okay? So 2015, all the things that we anticipated may be happening, going to happen, is happening, and it's freaking neon flashing lights. Well, hello! How long has it been for you? Bob, it's good to see you. No, I'm talking to you.
What are you talking to?
Yeah, no, it's good to see you, man. So here we're in this room because they had a water leak over there. They got, issues. So we brought sound and lights and everything. It just wasn't working in this room, but we'll get it done. Because the main thing is the video. We want to have, Terry does a good job of making sure we had the audio up here. It worked really well last month when we had Peter Steinmetz, gave his presentation. That went really well. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do that. They don't look like they got a crowd, so good. Oh yeah, it got really cold. All my fish are dead. Yay! Starting that compost pile, Lessons learned. I had all the heat. No, see, I got to finish. 2015, I'll finish it. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll go through the list. Now, Rick Dalton, they called and he couldn't make it. He wanted to talk about Sheriff Mack and Navajo County and some stuff going on up there, and they couldn't get back in time for where they're in Texas or something. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is get the eating real quick, and then there's 5 and 10 minute, segments. I mean, nobody's more than 10 minutes. It's skip to the end. Blah, 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 blah. We already heard it for years and years and years. It's skip to the end. Because we have a legislative agenda. Alan's going to be telling us some good stuff that he's working on. Peter's got some ideas that he wants to deal with. But a lot of us have information about little segments. And I'll give you this one thing. The reason I have Dennis here, I want him to talk a little bit about just giving you equipment and stuff for ham radio communication. This is why. Right before Christmas, I talked to my sister that lives in Texas. The whole side of my mother's family is Mormon. They were part of the big Lehigh invasion of Mesa, back in the 50s. My grandmother was well known, as a genealogy library expert of we know your DNA of which tribe in Africa, okay? So my whole life I grew up knowing they had a couple of years of food, man. You've been to my house or helped us move, we got barrels of, I'm not going to die, okay? Except after we used unsealed flour for my ginger snap cookies. Okay? Make sure you seal that stuff, So the thing that my sister said, I was talking to her and she said, yeah, all the stuff you were talking about, yeah, the church is getting all antsy. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, they put out a call. And I'm not really sure exactly what that is. It's like a Mormon fatwa or something, okay? So it's like they send out communications to the church. And I'm trying to find out if it was just Texas. And she says, no, she thinks it was a international, worldwide thing. They sent out a call that said, in every ward, they break it down by, I guess, the small church where you go to church is a ward, right? Is that how it works? So, every ward has to have at least 2 ham radio operators now in the Mormon church. And I go, did we see that one coming? I mean, it doesn't surprise us. But, they're starting to see go down and everybody get ready. It's already been year, 2 year, a little bit more. They're getting prepping. Now it's communication. So I go, okay. That's just another data point to put in, we already know what's coming. So I wanted to give everybody, a lot of the people in here, we'll go down the list, and everybody give their 5-10 minute thing of what they think is going to happen, the perspective that they have going through 2015, because when Don and I first started this back in '88 was our first awareness of what was going on, and there was searching, and within a few months I could say, yeah, no, the government's just a gang with a flag. I mean, once you kind of get that mindset, then you already get it. You know, it's not us. This by, for, of stuff is all BS, okay? So I'm going, okay, so we're up against them. When is this going to happen? What are we going to get ready for? Arbitrarily, I could see kind of the transition. Things happen in about 3 or 4 presidential election cycles. They kept going around. You got, you know, Goldwater, then you get Reagan, then you get Perot, then you get Ron Paul. And it's always 3 or 4 presidential election cycles. If we count '08, that means like mid-20s, we're going to have whatever, and I don't care. You know, we'll, need to get ready now. So this is what we decided. By the time our children, which were, infant to 4 or 5 years old, by the time our children were our age then, in our late 20s, that we would be, we wanted to make sure by the time they got our age and started families, that they weren't going to be in, zombie apocalypse without, some food. Okay? That was our mindset. My oldest daughter just turned 30. My youngest, 25. We decided that by the 2016 election cycle that we wanted to be ready for whatever was going to happen. We just need to get all Mormonized, okay? So I'm going, all right. So that has been our timeline for 25 years. The Breakfast Club, when I was going down in the mid-90s and everything, all the activism that I was doing, it was to check off boxes. Did you call your legislator? Did you write your congressman? Did you run for office? Did you file a lawsuit? Did you report to the... Check, bunch of checks, okay? Several times. Went back, I got multiple checks in all the boxes. It's not going to get fixed that way. But politics is a manifestation or a side effect of a much larger understanding. So this is what we're going to do. Barry's going to talk. He's a vice president of the Libertarian Party. What's their plan?
Hooray!
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, you heard about the plan.
They got a plan, Central Plan for Freedom of the Libertarians. Okay. So then we have Alan Corwin's going to give a few legislative things that are, I think you're out of luck, man. It'll move. He got some legislative actions that he thinks may represent the whatever.
So what do you think I'm talking about?
I don't know. Tom Jenny came on the show, Americans for Prosperity, which is a national Koch 35 state thing of whatever it is. Now, Tom from Cato and Goldwater Institute, and he's a Politico machine, AstroTurf wearing kind of, you want a crowd, I'll get it for you kind of guy. So I had him on. Now that was interesting. I go, give me one piece of legislation. One legislator, one piece of legislation that recognizes the sovereignty of me as an individual. One. If you can come up with one, man, you get the Levolution behind. Woo! Let's get on that horse and ride. Man, we're gonna go kick some butt. Secede something. I mean, let's do it. I go, you got one piece of legislation that recognizes me as an individual, be left alone on the land out in the middle, and I get to rest. I just want to rest. I just want to be left alone. Where is that? Somewhere, yes. All people must be able to plant a garden in their yard. I mean, something, okay? Nothing. That didn't even cross his mind. Well, you don't want the Democrats in charge. They won't rule you as well. Okay? So, it doesn't even cross the minds of people in politics. It's how we are going to be ruled. Not that there's any safe place for us to be unruled. It's not even on their radar screen. Now tell us one story. Are they ready with the food?
Yeah, it's on.
Right? Okay. Let me tell you the story and then we'll get going real quick and then we'll get right into it. Well, to make sure time it goes by quickly, we're going to go ahead and eat. While people speak while we're eating, and I'll give the order. I'll probably start with Matt because you're at the top. So this is what happened. How many of you have heard of the actor Russell Brand? Yeah. You guys know who Russell Brand is? Yeah. Russell Brand is a popular comedic British actor, so on. He's in a bunch of movies, and all of a sudden he resurrected a magazine called The Statesman. And in there, George Clooney had an article, so that tells you where this goes anyway. So they had this magazine come out, and he got on the BBC, and they were talking to him, and they said, he goes, oh no, I don't vote anymore. I don't want to vote. I don't care about voting. Oh, heavens of Murgatroyd, he said nothing about voting. He goes, no, it's all support of the class of whatever the heck. So he goes, look. He was advocating more equality, and he was poor, and more of a progressive kind of whatever the heck idea that he had. He just came out with a book. It's called Revolution, and he used the Revolution logo that we have of the love reversed in it in red. Okay? Everybody and their grandma is on me. Oh my God, I can't believe this communist ripped off the Revolution. What are you, Ernie, going to do about it and protect your intellectual property rights? Which I don't believe. So, yeah. So me, Charles, we were at a party this last week, and Charles Goyette comes with his son that's just graduating this year from ASU, and he's like, oh, Ernie, you know, because, of course, Ron Paul, I'll tell you a little secret. Ron Paul documentary is being done, okay? Charles Goyette is going to produce, he's going to quit his newsletter writing everything, and for at least a year is going to work on the Ron Paul documentary biography. And that starts, and there will be a Kickstarter that Ron Paul is going to do a, you know, kind of not love Charles and give money or whatever, and they're going to raise the money, you know, and they're going to do, you know, Charles, and here we go. Ron Paul documentary, probably in time for the 2016 election cycle for his son kind of thing. So Lord knows what, you know, this movie is going to be. So that's coming. When the Revolution in that book come up, they feel like that might sully it in some way. I go, are you kidding me? On Daily Paul, somebody made a big deal out of this and put, you know, Ernest Hancock and Revolution should go get them and get some, you know. And I go, I never have written about, you know, me doing this logo or anything for however long, 7, 8 years it has been. So I go, look, this is the first time I'm going to do anything in the Amazon book review section of it. And I go, look, on his, this is something I ripped off of the Beatles a long time ago anyway. So I go, you know, what's the difference? And he's from the UK. He probably has more, you know, ownership. Anyway, I go, the only ownership that I have in this is to make sure that no one gets any ownership. It's just like the peace symbol. It is ubiquitous, it's open source, everybody can use it, you know, no problem, the peace symbol. So this is what I'm looking to kind of give as the atmosphere of this, is yay! On his way to a peaceful, voluntarist, leave me alonist world, you know, he's more than welcome, we all are, to use and yada yada yada. But if he strays, Russell strays too far from the brand, then the Revolution will make sure that he and his supporters understand why this artwork was so impactful, so quickly, and so widespread. So, welcome him in, it's all good, I don't care. Hopefully the controversy dies down. He'll try and take it, but the more people that come in from that, they're going to learn about where it came from. So I don't have a problem with this. You know, it's exactly what I wanted to happen. That's why I didn't lay claim to any of this stuff, because I wanted it on the books. I wanted it behind Ron Paul's head. You know, Russell Brand's out there doing this book and everything. Does he even know that, you know, all Ron Paul channel, he's got the logo right behind him all the time? I mean, it's free marketing. I go, God, you people, man, stop. You know, quit thinking in this. You own, you know, ideas. You know, so this is what's happening. And it's going to be 2015. A lot of people in the political realm, as I'm talking to Tom Jenney from Americans for Prosperity, it was obvious. There is not even a plan. There is not even an option of you just being simply left alone. Not even on the table. They're not even thinking of it. It's how you're going to get ruled. And the only way we can bypass that is for us to take charge of our own lives. That's what today is about. And for 2015, in this legislative cycle, as we build up and all the hoopla they're going to be, and you know, so-and-so's running for whatever, and so-and-so, and let me tell you what it comes down to. It comes down to 30, 40 years of Bush and Clinton's. And what's Obama? He was like a blend of both of them anyway. So, I mean, you know, so what's the difference? So, from ambassador to China, head of CIA, VP, Bush, then becomes president, then we go to Clinton, then we go to baby Bush, and Obama, you know, just clone. So I'm going, how long are we going to be in this dynasty of Bush-Clinton? And it's going to be Hillary versus Jeb. Guarantee it, okay? Certainly as long as they can go and whoever negotiates the whatever. So I am just, I don't care. And obviously talking to, Jenny made it solidified that they don't care either. It's just who their crowd gets elected. So what are we going to be doing in the next year? Donna and I, I'll just tell you right now, I made a decision that we're going to get land probably in the West Valley, Tonopah, and land up in Navajo County. We already have some up there. So I'm going to be trying to create more than one place to live and really working on food. Tonopah Rob, the farm on 10 acres out in Tonopah, is just lush. He's shifting to aquaponics. He's investing $75,000 in all his stuff going into using fish to fertilize, much faster production of his vegetables. Because he had a big die off of a bug of a whatever the heck, an invasive species of the man went out and sprinkled it or something, okay? So he's going to go to aquaponics. Monday we go out there. He's going to 5 miles away. We're going to go over to Bob's, Tonopah Bob, where he has built his greenhouse around the aquaponics system. So he's just making, it's going stupid. And we're going to show how he's doing it in the filtering system and so on. So what we're going to do is, Matt, go ahead and, while everybody's starting to get their breakfast, go ahead and we'll start with you. This is the framework that we're talking about. And everybody try and, because we're not using a microphone, be quiet. Don't bang on this because it's going to make noise on that. But we're going to go ahead and think what? 5-10 minutes. This is what I perceive is going to happen, what my efforts are going to be towards the groups that I represent, the people I'm in. He just ran for Tempe City Council in the face of everybody and seeing how that's going. So we're going to learn from each other. We'll have the questions at the end. If there's extended remarks, we'll probably go Peter and Alan kind of towards the end, or maybe Peter be ready here and we'll go. But it's just going to go fast. So what are we looking at on time? I want to get going by 8:30 and we are at 8:20. Yay, we're ahead. Okay. So Matt, go ahead and I will keep the clocks, 5-10 minutes. Go, Matt Papke.
All right. Thank you, Ernie. Hey, thanks for coming out and doing all this. It's amazing. Rick Dalton didn't make it, so I'm going to spend like 30 seconds talking about what he was going to talk about. Constitutional County Project in Navajo County. It's a place where we're trying to just make it a libertarian kind of utopia. Sheriff Max going to be running for constitutional sheriff, trying to get a good county attorney, and Ernie's got land up there. I got a bunch of opportunity to get land up there. It may be a good place to go hang out while everything else goes crazy. So my name is Matt Papke. Like Ernie said, I'm here to talk about freedom and liberty and what I see coming up in 2015. Well, I was surprised that we didn't have any race wars kick off. I was surprised I didn't see headlines of a bunch of cops being shot on New Year's. I know they're trying hard to make something like that happen. Even in our local community of Tempe, they've got some what I'd call communist agitators out there trying to make that happen. And I'm really glad it didn't happen, but I don't think for 1 minute they're going to let up whenever they have some glimmer of opportunity to expose or to capitalize on some race issue that they may want to make a big deal of. I'm getting prepared. I got years worth of food, years worth of water, big garden, and we're going to keep adding to that this year because there's nothing wrong with the way the Mormons think about preparation. They're really good at it. They've been through a lot, and have ham radios too. So that's where I'm at. But I want to talk to you about two things today. I want to talk to you about the 2016 election cycle and what you can do in your city. Ernie and I are going to differ a little bit on the election cycle. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. So his opinion is maybe worth more, but I'm still optimistic. I was a delegate for the state of Arizona in 2012 for Ron Paul, the Republican Party. I went to Tampa, due to a lot of the good works of people in this room, helping us get that message out and go into that grinder of an election process. It is my personal opinion that had that convention process from the district, county, and state levels been fair and uncorrupt, Ron Paul would have been the Republican nominee, hands down. He had the numbers. He said, I said, how can I help you win, Ron Paul? And he said, go be a delegate. So Ed was a delegate. I was a delegate. A lot of people that our Friends of Liberty were. As we know, there was corruption. and it was terrible. But again, had there not been, you would have had Ron Paul debating Obama on the national television screen, and even if he may not have won, maybe he would have knocked off whoever. What would have happened? Who knows? But at the very least, we would have had a very, very public national conversation about liberty. A constitutional scholar, Barack Obama, who touts the Constitution but flouts it whenever he can, and then Ron Paul, defender of the Constitution, champion of the Constitution. So I worked hard to make that happen. I think there may be an opportunity in 2016, and I want to ask you today to consider becoming involved in that process, the delegate selection process. If you don't have good people in the Republican Party working at that level, you're going to have corrupt conventions. After 2012 cycle, we came back pissed off because of what happened in Tampa. I wanted to honestly kill Speaker Boehner while I was there. And we took over 30% of the Republican Party. That's a pretty significant number. It's not a majority, but it's a very significant number. And at the grassroots level, the precinct committeemen, by and large, they are for liberty. In my district, LD 26, I'm the first vice chair. We talk about the Federal Reserve. We talk about the NSA. We talk about the Constitution on a very constant basis. It is a path, and all I ask is that you consider helping us with that path, because if we don't, we're Jeb, Hillary. I mean, that's what the establishment wants, and if we can thwart it, I think we should. So that's what I wanted to talk about real quick there. Second thing is, I did run for city council. Somebody, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, but no, I did run, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. A little no-name guy like me. I actually did have dreadlocks at the time as well, when I think about it. We stood on a message of fiscal conservative fiscal policy, power to the people, anti-corruption. We didn't waver from any of that, and we got about 6,200 votes. I don't know 6,000 people. So what that tells me is that message went beyond me and resonated with part of the population. I think the top vote getter got close to 9,000. So we didn't lose by that much. We did lose, but we didn't lose by that much. And that is the city of Tempe, the communist bastion of Arizona. It really is. Like, you got ASU. Just give you a little insight. The two top vote getters both worked for ASU. So, yeah, but that election was never about me. It was about the message, about free Tempe, free you, free me, free Tempe. And we're going to continue that battle. And I want you guys to do this in your own cities if you can. Federal government, I think is pretty much gone. I really do. State governments, on the way out. They're bought and paid for, a lot of them. A few good ones left. But the city, even though they may be corrupt politicians, they're very novice at it, they're very new at it, and they're easily influenced by people. When people get up and start talking, they actually start listening, and we can have a huge effect. So one of the things we're going to do in Tempe is we're going to fight the food tax. We're going to call them out on the carpet. Tempe taxes groceries. They have the audacity to put a tax on food. That is highly unpopular, and we're going to put it to a referendum and say, look, councilman, if you want to defend this, you go out and you start telling people why they should vote no on ending the food tax. They're not going to do it. What that's going to do is going to showcase how we can save money. Because the first thing they're going to say is, Matt, well, that's $7 million a year. How do we save that? And I say, well, it's very easy. You take your paid vacation days for a starting employee down from 30 to 28, and you save $7 million in labor a year. And they say, oh, well, we didn't want to talk about that. I mean, how else can we do that? Oh, that's very easy. You take some of the money that you're pushing towards these grants for people that nonprofits that obviously are shady, and you just cut that. So there's a lot of ways we can do it. We're going to do it by the numbers. We're going to hit them as hard as we possibly can. Call them on the carpet, make them look like the real authoritarian, tyrannical bastards that they are. Now, what issues are in your city? What can you get up to and talk at the city council about? Every city's got them. Is it the unions run your police force, your fire department? Are they running the show there, like Phoenix, for example? Do they outlaw chickens like they did in Chandler? What is it? Because at the city level, you can accomplish so much. Just in that short campaign cycle that we ran, we were able to get one of the incumbents booted. And I feel really good about this. This incumbent was taking money from every single development attorney on the West Coast, it would seem. And we paid money, we advertised her finance report on Facebook. She thought she'd have a cakewalk to her third term. She got sent packing. She was totally caught off guard. And I am very excited that happened, because that shows that the people do they listen. It takes them a while to get going. But once they start seeing the reality, they say, well, no, that's not what we want. And it can happen in your city. So I'm going to encourage, I'm not going to use the full 10 minutes, I'm going to encourage you to find out some issue in your city and really start taking it to them. Just start pounding them. Show up at the council meetings and ask them, why did you do this? They might say, we just paid $41 million for a steel dam. Say, why do we need a giant steel dam in the Tempe? And they can't, they don't, there's no, the reason is because they want a kickback on the project. That's why. They want to spend some money and get some money back. And when you call them out like that, it's indefensible. They just tap dance and they look like fools they are. So thank you so much for your time. And Ernie, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Matt. So Matt's continuing activism in the city of Tempe, where he's at. He's well known. He's had an impact. He's going to start giving them what for on the tax. And I'll tell you what they do. We've already went through this in several levels. But then we'd have to fire cops. Yay! Okay, so they're going to try and pull that. Well, the fire and everything. I go, well, you do what you got to do. Well, the firemen and policemen unions, trust me, they'll be fine. It's all the other stuff. Okay, now one of the things that the most important is feeding yourself, food. Now we've been doing aquaponics. I got a lot of positive things to say about that. Keep your fish warm. But what we have Japanese quail being raised, rabbits in mass quantity. You just need to hear the numbers of how much food you can produce just from that, not counting the aquaponics, in a very small area. The size of this room would go stupid. I went to Leo Magpak's home and saw his operation in the backyard, what he was doing at a party. And I'm going, wow, he makes all his money just selling the quail and the cages for doing this stuff while he's a painter, his real job, and it may turn over to that. So Leo, Magpak, Homestead, go ahead and come up here and give your spiel, man. I want the people to understand, the big thing I want you to get out of this is numbers. How much meat can be produced in a room this size a month? Keep this in mind. Leo.
Yeah, so what he's saying about raising food, that's a thing that I do dominantly. I raise the quail and the rabbits. And then you're saying an area this size, hundreds of thousands of pounds a month could grow in an area this size. The quail are probably the most efficient out of all of the animals. They lay almost an egg a day, 16 days to incubate them, 6 weeks they're ready for meat, and then 8 to 10 weeks they start laying their own eggs. So that cycles super fast. I have a little 2x2 cage that does 100 pounds of meat a month, and that's just 2 tiers high. And there's 5-tier ones that do over 350 pounds a month. So food is not...
So it's the size of the podium.
Yeah, pretty much. Food is not a problem. That's one myth that everyone says there's not enough land, there's not enough resources, and I don't believe in that.
What do you feed them?
I like grains, usually.
Grains.
Yeah, but you can feed them just there. I could grow all my own food for them, but I don't have time for that right now.
How many pounds of food per pound of meat?
I never did the math on that. I never did the math on that.
Is it like 1 to 1?
I think it's like 2 to 1.
Speak up, Leo.
It's like 2 to 1
So
probably.
you need 2 pounds of grain for every pound of meat?
Yeah, but you can feed them scraps from your yard if you want to. I've fed them grass before and they're fine.
So for 100 pounds of meat, you need 200 pounds of scraps?
Yeah, which is not as hard to come by as you think. You can grow lettuce if you want to, But,
Let's not get them on off track.
Yeah,
10 minutes, go.
the idea is, so what we're doing is we're doing this thing called, my whole side business is Magpak Homestead. This is teaching self-sufficiency and how to get off the grid, even if it's just in the city in your spare time. And then the project we're working on right now is to do an outside the city program where I could teach people how to be self-sufficient and slowly move ourselves up into the mountains mostly a snowbird thing, but back and forth, so it'll be like a mobile food production system that I'm going to be designing.
The pamphlets are on your tables for Magpie Homestead as well as Underemployed and Hungry, the newsletter that we are starting to do.
Yeah, so we are doing that newsletter just to inform people about this kind of stuff. And we're putting it out mostly out in the East Valley right now, to all the retirement homes and the little restaurants that people hang out at. Because a lot of the people that are over 70, they don't really go on the internet like we do. So we figured they'll sit around, they'll be drinking their coffee, eating breakfast, and they can read that kind of stuff just to.
Instead of the coffee news, maybe, Underemployed and Hungry, whichever one is like
Yeah.
underemployed and hungry. And most of the people in Arizona have retired, more than 3 times.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole idea though is we're going to be doing the self-sufficiency outside the city. That program probably the next year.
The mobile barn,
Yeah, so we're designing a mobile barn where I can do all my own food production in a mobile fashion. So it's pretty much a giant box trailer, but that thing should be able to produce 10,000 pounds a month, as long as you have enough feed coming into it, going out.
We're going to be doing a fundraiser.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a fundraiser on that. We'll start that this month sometime, and I don't know.
Look at your notes.
So yeah,
Leading
yeah.
up.
So yeah, we're going to be. The whole point though is we want to go up there. We want to do all this stuff without permits. Not
Go up
far-
where?
Up into the Concho White Mountain area. Ernie owns some land up there. A lot of us own land up there. So we're going to go up there. We're going to build housing. We're going to do all of this stuff without permission.
Without permission.
Yeah, I don't believe.
Just want to emphasize
Okay,
that.
I want to make sure you guys understand one thing. What's the name of your baby?
Neo.
Neo from the Matrix, okay? She wanted to have a home birth with a midwife and so on. There are complications, need to have a cesarean in the hospital. No social security number. No vaccines. No birth certificate.
Whoa.
And said, they go, well, you have to. And you said what?
No, I don't.
Ah. How often does that happen?
We got a president like that.
See, Neo, you can grow up to not be president. Okay. So this is, the reason I wanted them here, this is the tip of the spear of actually having done it for, I don't know, a couple of years you've been working on it.
Years, yeah.
That this has been the production of food where we go to the Prepper Fest and so on, they're all flooding over to him. And the domes that we built, they have made cages that kind of fit in the round in the dome. So if you fill one dome that we have that's a 16-foot diameter, you can feed a family. You add some aquaponics like we did our aqua dome and the fish and so on. Food is not the problem. This is the problem.
So the whole idea though is how many of us are just like paycheck to paycheck, we can barely make it. So I've over the last so many years have just learned slowly how to become more and more self-sufficient. I got land up in the mountains, I had, I don't know, thousands of pounds of food. And then Alma's came on, she started helping. So the whole idea, we're going to be showing people how to do this, and we're going to be making a small documentary on all this as well. This will be over the course of this year. So like I said, sometime this month we'll start a campaign for fundraising to try to fund that, because it's not free. I can do everything out of recycled scrap material, but that takes twice as long. So,
Just leading up to Jackalope.
yeah, so yeah, before the Jackalope Freedom Festival this year, we're going to be trying to get up there at least a few weeks to a month beforehand to show people how we can do it. And if we had all this done by then, we'll bring the mobile barn up to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know what the Jackalope Freedom Festival is. We're going into the 4th year, right? Porcupine Freedom Festival in New Hampshire around the Free State Project. That's what I keep, bacon. They have a camp out that's been going into its 11th year, I think. And it's just a week-long party, a bunch of libertarians, kind of, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and sometimes some clothes. So this is just...
In that order.
They have a good time, but I mean, it really is the manifestation of a voluntarist society. And they get a lot of coverage, they do really well, and it's like our 6th year going up there. Alma's been up there before, I don't think Leo is gone.
No.
So they started getting a little bit too organized. They have a 501c3 status of give us money, the tax ban, of the whatever. right when they were not approving neocon things. Remember, anybody liberal got approved, but they didn't. And right in the middle of that, and they go, oh, hell no, they're not getting it, okay? So then they're kind of like, well, we didn't want it anyway, you know, that kind of thing. Well, when they started doing that, we thought they was getting too organized. So we wanted to demonstrate what could happen if you do a freedom-oriented festival in the middle of the forest with no cost, no permitting, no nothing, totally legal.
I don't know what this Wii stuff is.
Exactly. So we were like, no, we're just going camping and with 5,000 of our closest friends, okay? So we go up there, and after the first year, no big deal. Second year, they're like, oh, where's your permit? Tactical vest, M16s, helicopters, okay? That's how bad. We're going, oh, free hugs and, you know, cop block videos, and we love you long time. They're like, damn it, that didn't work, okay? The last year, they just totally left us alone. So we'll see what happens this one. The reason was we found out that a bunch of intelligence community, CIA and ex-military and so on, moved up there. And they're like, we went up here to get away from you guys, and they're invading us. Go give them crap, okay? Well, then they started seeing who and what we were about and kind of looking at Ron Paul thinking, okay, maybe they're not that bad, all right? So hopefully we're doing okay, but it's dry camping. So going into our 4th year, we have had people come up, and it keeps growing. It like doubles in size every year. We're already up to hundreds. So what happens is for that week, you learn, you know, my bug out bag be missing this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So you really understand what you need in a prolonged bug out kind of situation.
A pig.
With a bunch of kids running around having fun. We slaughtered a pig. You know, Leo got, you know, tell him about that real quick.
Yeah, so we bought a live pig up there. We slaughtered it there in front of everybody, showed everyone how to do it.
Kids.
Yeah, everybody. And then we put it on a spit and roasted it. And we served it out to everybody. It was gone within the hour.
Yeah, kids, get there. It's your turn to turn. Okay,
Yeah.
I remember this stuff churning and everything, and ice cream. When I was a kid, now it's always you plug it into something. Well, ain't no plug, okay? So we're converting, we bring up, you know, generators and that kind of stuff, have a stage, bands. It's a lot of fun, but it's not organized. There is no we, so they can't go after us. But what happens is that we're seeing the need to go to solar. It's quieter, it's more efficient, it's starting to produce. I brought my Hope system up. Donna had hot showers running. We had hot water and flowing and everything. It's all good. So this is for our 4th year of just fine-tuning a lot of this stuff. They bring up their quails and rabbits and everything, and we have a jackalope hunt. The kids go out and find and stuff, and they get a rabbit, thank you. And then he cook the Japanese quail to everybody up there. Make money. Sean Dean comes up with his Navajo mother, and they're just making fry bread. There's a line 2 hours long. I mean, you know, so you can really see an anarchist, voluntarist society going. It happened at Pork Fest, but it got so successful, thousands of people up there, that they started to do the Burning Man organizing permit, you know, numbered lot kind of crap. And we're like, nah, that's when it starts to go downhill. So we're doing this, you know, we wanted to call it Pork West or something like that.
I do own the website. So.
Yeah, Scorpion Freedom Festival. It's
Yeah.
like a porcupine with a scorpion tail, you know, for the West or something. So we're having a lot of fun with this.
If you go to porkwest.com, it redirects to Jackalope Freedom Festival.
Nah. So this is already being done in our 4th year. So you think that we've been planning this and getting the skills and getting ready to not die, to thrive, for our children to see where our meat comes from. You want to see? This is how it works. Boom, done, skin, roast, eat.
When is this going to happen?
It's always the first weekend in August. And it's up on the rim, 30 miles up towards Show Low from Payson. Almost exactly 30 miles. You go Black Canyon Lake or whatever it is back in there, 7 miles from the road. They're beautiful Baca Meadow. I mean, it's very nice. Gary brought his big giant, oh my God, RV up there last year. You know, so, I mean, you can actually take your RV.
Yeah, you got to come in from Heber Overguard if you do have an RV and want to come in that way. It's a lot safer.
Okay, we're at 10.
Yeah, so real quick.
Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, real
Well, we
quick.
still have 5, I think, because
Yeah.
Ernie took 10.
Real quick is we're going to be starting to do a monthly class tour at my place. and we'll release that here within the month. If you guys, I have some flyers on the tables and some of the stuff I do. So.
Yeah, the newsletter will be digital also, so you'll be able to download a PDF version of it, and there'll be calendar dates. We're going to do like a 3-month ahead type of thing for the next newsletter, which will be printed this weekend. So you can just go to it's magpackhomestead.wordpress.
magpackhomesteadaz.wordpress.com. So just go ahead and check it out, and the newsletter's on there as well. So,
Thank you very much. See, it's not that we're going to do it and we want to think about it. We're doing it. We've been doing it for years. So everybody's going, well, what are you going to do about it? We're in our 4th year demonstrating what we learned a year before and doing it. And I tell you what happens. Dennis, go ahead and come on up. I tell you what happens. A lot of these people that come up there are from that area all the way. They come from different states, California, Colorado, New Mexico. They come to this thing. And they are, a lot of them in Mojave County area. They come with their stuff and go, hey, let me show you what's up. I got my thing. And of course we use their winches pulling people out of ditches and stuff, so that helps. Dennis Reed is a longtime Levolutionary, and he has taken it upon himself. He's an electrician by trade. But he's taken it upon himself to learn about a lot of things. Now his wife Karen, say hi Karen, big on botanicals, tinctures, how to use the plants, had a first year at Jackalope, big book of actual plants and showing kind of medicine and we don't die. Okay? Awesome. A lot of the people that she learned from, we got to visit and do it, so that doctor, okay? Dennis took upon himself to learn communications. What kind of radios do we need? How are we going to communicate? What is it that we're going to be saying when we communicate? How are we going to do it? Well, ham radios, he's been doing a lot of research, and hopefully he has information for us that we're going to learn. Mormons are doing it. Go.
Thanks, Ernie. I'd much rather listen to Ernie talk than myself any day, but I'll do what I can for you. Maybe this might last all of 5 minutes. As far as communication goes, it's always a good idea to have a plan, because when the stuff hits the fan, you may not be able to use your cell phone or the internet. So enter ham radio. Ham radio, there's a lot of different things to learn about ham radio. The simplest, quickest way to get up to speed is to go on the 2-meter band. You can buy these little handheld walkie-talkies that'll bounce off of the nearest repeater. They're usually pretty good at that. I have a recommendation if anybody's interested. You can go on the internet for less than $100. Come up with a pair of Baofeng radios. If you do that, make sure you get the UV5R. There's all different models available, but that seems to be the one that has the most features and is pretty much compatible with what other people are going to be using. The setup is just whatever the repeater frequencies are. You can go online and find that just Google up repeaters, Arizona repeaters. There'll be a whole list of directories, probably over 100 different you can choose from. There's probably about 250 channels you could set your radio up to. That's just one way of doing it. Another way, if you want to think outside the radio box, oh, by the way, the ham radio stuff requires a license. If you don't want to get licensed, you take your chances with getting caught. If you want to communicate through the airwaves without a license, you might consider CB radio. If you want to do that, make sure you get something that has a sideband to it, because that carries all of the talk power within the frequency band that you're talking out on. Another thing you might want to consider is getting extended batteries. The Baofeng UV5R comes with a whole host of accessories you can get for it. Extended batteries. You can get battery packs that take AA batteries. You can get longer antennas. car chargers, wall chargers, everything. They're all there on the internet. I guess obviously a very popular one would be Amazon or something like that.
So the one radio that you're suggesting is what capability does it have? How far can you communicate for, and how much does it cost?
With the UV5R, you can get them for about $50 a piece. They're going to be limited to 5 watts. On a clear day, that'll get you 50 miles. So there's usually a repeater within that.
50 miles?
50 miles.
For 50 bucks?
Yeah, yeah. I can reach
Damn.
from my house in Fountain Hills. If I put the extended on antenna, I can reach South Mountain. I can reach the repeater at South Mountain, which then extends my coverage out as far as that signal will go, because South Mountain is pretty high up.
How
I
do
can
you
reach
spell that brand? Blair? Bear?
BAO,
B-A-O.
FENG.
Do you have a website?
I don't have a website. Well, eBay. Go to ebay.com and put in Baophone UV5R. You'll see hundreds for sale. That's where I got mine.
Now there are 3 different kinds of radios. You have a base station, that would be at home.
Yeah.
You have like a mobile you can carry around, you know, kind of car thing. And then you have the walkie-talkie hand ones. The one thing that Dennis learned was that some of these, the Chinese ones, there are some that you have the capacity to unlock.
Right.
Describe this.
If you do a Google search, you'll find out that the Baophone radio is when they sell it in the United States, it's programmed and designed for the frequencies within the U.S. But there's a way you can modify your radio, highly illegal, to get other channels. Like maybe if you want to talk to an airplane, you can get the airplane channels, or marine band. You can only go so far on 2 meters. You can't go, you know, the full radio spectrum, but still you can expand it. It'll listen to the Weather Channel. It'll listen to FM radios. You know, the commercial broadcast band, already set up and ready to go, just like that. Just a matter of putting the frequency in off the front keypad and set up. The model I was referencing was UV5R. You can get other models, but I don't recommend them. If you have something that's compatible with other preppers in your area, then you're already set to go.
The reason for this particular radio, Dennis, is we've been working on this for the past year probably. You know, Gary's been interested in it, Dennis, myself, some others. You know, Dean, you know, knew a lot about this from years ago. The reason was because you wanted to have a radio that had a large capacity of frequencies it could use, that it was clear and effective. We went up to Jackalope last year of a radio I bought the year before at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. They were selling them for, I don't know, like half a Bitcoin or something like that, you know, back when it was, you know, not as much. So for $90, I got 2 of these radios. Donna and I were able to go miles up there in the mountains and the trees and all that in canyons, you know, at least 2 or 3 miles, and you could hear each other, which was awesome. And it comes with an earbud and a voice-activated microphone. What that does, and I don't know, maybe you got to trigger it to talk, I don't remember.
No, you can put it on Vox.
Yeah, so you put it in your ear, and my son uses these to hunt. So they're spotting up 2 miles away from the prey. They take their razor, their little cart, they go down there and they walk them in. I've seen them do it. 50 more yards, the javeliner up here, with radios, miles. So I'm going, oh ho ho. Now you add to that, the next thing that we'll have by next year, drones. We're going to be learning about live 3D, looking at whatever drone we want. So this is the technology, and that's why Dennis has been working on this, is so that we have the communication abilities. When Gary, the first year we did the Jackalope Freedom Festival, Gary went up there, phones don't work very well, you can't get, and his belt went off and his big RV stuck in, and Dennis goes, yeah, where's your radio? If you had a radio, see my point? Go ahead and write that. Go ahead and give them out the models again, and then we'll go to the next one.
Okay, the one I'm recommending right now is Baofeng, B-A-O-F-E-N-G, model UV5R. The R
50
stand-
bucks.
Yeah, the R stands for repeater. You want to be sure and get one that's repeater capable. It's a dual band radio. Not only do you get 2 meters, you also get 70 centimeters, which is in the 440 megahertz
Could you
range.
spell that a little slower?
Yes, B-A-O-F-E-N-G.
Some of us have software to program them too, so it's very easy to program.
Right, you can get software to go on your computer, get a little COM cable to hook your radio to your computer, and you can type in your frequencies and get everything set up that way.
Okay, one more thing, and I know you guys have a lot of questions. Get to the end, we'll start doing questions, but this is the one thing that you should know. In the 90s, we knew that when the internet went to World Wide Web, instead of you dialing up the servers that people had, and it kind of did that, you know, Paul Revere net and Fido net and all, we kind of had our own net. Well, that's coming again. It's called distributed internet, where it's like Napster. You know, like everybody's piece of their hard drive is the internet, not the DARPA thing. The communicate, how you get there through radio waves or Wi-Fi or satellite or whatever, doesn't matter. That's coming. In fact, for 6 months, the back end of Freedom's Phoenix is being worked to interface with the distributed internet. We will be the first multimedia kind of, it's all over here, to where you cannot take down or censor any information. A guy named...
That's without going to your physical location, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me explain.
Thank you.
Mox News was called the C-SPAN Junkie. For 30 years, 20-something years at least, in the 90s, he had accumulated 65,000 videos. He put them up. It was all, man, just, oh, did you know? A lot of it was Ron Paul stuff, because he could see what was going on. He has 3 televisions up, DVRs on each one of them, 2 channels. He edits every day 30 hours of news. That goes up. The last one, Google and YouTube just shut down his channel, took all 65,000 off because they didn't like him. He did one video on Leon Panetta, which was Secretary of Defense and CIA. He was on the BBC saying, get ready, it's a multi-generational grandkid war, you know, crusade against and ISIS and whatever. When he took that and said, look, see, they're planning for a forever war. When he did that, he said, oh, hell no, get that down, shut down this channel. 65,000 videos. So we are right now working with a company called MadeSafe and Storage that uses this technology. Once you put it up on this grid, it can never be taken down. It's like Bitcoin, okay? It's distributed Bitcoin for the internet. We're set him up. He never did an interview all these decades. He came on my show. I said, get on my show. Get him, Freak Michael, on. What the hell? Get him on the show. Called Donna, came on. We're going to take all 65,000 of his videos through an interface through Freedom's Phoenix and the distributed internet in 2015. And it be done. It can never go down. So they want to stop communication. They want you not to know what's happening. When you have a mechanism by which we can communicate with each other, we also understood that capacity could be thwarted if we could directly communicate in a distributed way. The radios, we knew this was capable in the 90s, and now they have the tech done. You can hook up these radios to your keyboard, and you can do text messaging. You just do it, it's like email, using ham radio frequencies, and encrypted.
That's the question I was going to ask.
Encrypted.
Illegally.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hell, I guess I shouldn't do it.
So you take your chances. You know, one thing you might want to be aware of, FCC is a regulating body in this country. In the FCC regulations, those restrictions, such as you can't talk on a radio unless you're a licensed radio operator, in an emergency, those are lifted. Those go out the window. You're not supposed to use the marine band on land. But if your life depends on it, you can use any band that you have at your disposal. So that's just something you might want to keep in the back of your mind.
Well, I think we've been in a state of emergency for quite a while now.
Well, but you consider a state of emergency, and you know, the officials think as a state of emergency. It might not be the same thing, but you understand where I'm coming from.
See, whenever any of these guys say about, you know, licensing, or you got to go and clap it, and I'm going, you know, when I need to use it, That ain't gonna mean shit.
That's right.
So I don't care. I just want to have the capacity, I have the radios. All right, real fast, man. We got to go to the next.
So I got the bow phone. The question is, can they home in on you?
Probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they can triangulate, they can get your position. If you're gonna communicate, you wanna make sure your communication is
Berta?
short.
Only while you're broadcasting.
Yeah, while you're broadcasting. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things. We also have the capacity. We have 3 FM transmitters that we can transmit our radio show. In fact, we do. We take our RV, we go out to Quartzsite, we put out little stickers to all the RVs out there. Tune in 91.3 and listen to Yeehaw! They tune in, sure as crap, man. There's the radio show we're broadcasting, well, what the heck, $300 from eBay. FM transmitting, whatever frequency you want. We did it at ASU when Obama came in 09. The commencement saying hello. So this is, oh, I'm sorry, you thought we were going to start doing something? 2015, the year of finish it. Anything else, Dennis? I want to have next to Verta.
No, I'm good. Thanks for your
Dennis,
time.
radio, Heron, botanicals. We need medicines. Donna's been starting to do essential oils. She's got her own Breaking Bad, little Breaking Bad chemical apparatus of essential oil making from eucalyptus and mints and all kinds of different stuff for soaps that we're doing. We've been doing this for the past couple of years. So there's a lot of things that we're learning. We share this on the show. What we're going to do is this year, I just started the first of this year, a blog that I had that I started back in 08, but I haven't posted on it for years. So that's going to start coming to the front in this new back end on Freedom's Phoenix, and I'm going to be chronicling a lot of this stuff. So it's going to 2015. Vertigan and Gary have been doing a lot of this. We always get the best Christmas presents from them. We're not going to die, okay? So I mean, it's a good knife, a good this, a good that, and a good whatever. So now Verta has been doing a lot of work on health. You know, she works a lot on health and essential oils and working with Donna making stuff and learning stuff, and they're doing stuff. Our first garden that they did went stupid, but it was so much work with the weeds and everything. We went to the aquaponic, aquadome thing a lot easier, but they helped a lot for us learning that. Verta, tell us what we need to know.
2 years ago at Prepperfest, I was introduced to essential oils. We also at that particular time looked at the first aid kits that were being sold there, the great big ones. Over the year, I then really started studying the benefits of the oils. This year at Prepperfest, Gary decided he wanted to purchase one of those great big old huge bags, which are about $750, but you don't want for anything in them. In an emergency, you'll have everything from sutures to whatever. To make a long story short, when we got into looking at what was in there, lo and behold, and by the way, this kit was put together by a doctor and a nurse, they had essential oils, I think 8 of them, in this kit. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. So over the last year, I have spent a lot of time kind of studying up and getting my own supply of oils, which I use all the time. I have a handout. I probably don't have enough for everybody. That's why I didn't pass them out. I wasn't expecting as large a crowd. This is a makeover of your medicine cabinet. It's really interesting. Each oil is broken down, each over-the-counter medication is broken down into what type of oil you can use and how to use it. Well, not so much how to use it, but you get the drift. Basically, that's all I have to say. I just wanted to kind of introduce you. I personally need to say that if you take this and you follow kind of the instructions, disclaimer, this is for doTERRA oils. Over-the-counter oils, I can't guarantee. Some of them can be used internally, others shouldn't be. As a quick example, Sprouts. All I wanted was peppermint oil. And the lady said, oh, we don't have any peppermint oil that you can take internally. The government told us that we can't say that it's an internal medicine. So doTERRA oils, another one, Young Living, also advocate taking it, but only in certain amounts, which you can follow up with, and be careful. But they're excellent. I haven't taken an aspirin for a headache in over a year. Wintergreen or birch works wonderfully. Donna and Ernie and I went and robbed some eucalyptus leaves off of my neighbor's tree. She thought we were crazy. So Donna could distill it. And Donna has the pure, you know, she's using the pure oils herself. So that's all I had to say. I just wanted to share it.
How many oils and probable cost on that?
It depends.
Yeah, I started with a kit. By the way, I do not sell this. I don't need to get into that type of thing at my age. I don't need to sell anything. The kit I started with was a medical kit with the 5-ounce drams or milligrams. It was $150. Have I put quite a bit of money into it? Yes. I've probably spent $1,000, but it's something that will never go bad. If I can't go to the doctor, there's more than likely something, and I'm sure Karen and Donna have studied enough to know that there's usually something that is natural. I try to stay away from the synthetics. I can't pick an aspirin off of a plant, but I sure can go out and get the wintergreen, distill it down with Donna's machine, and use it.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. If you have any questions, I've got the literature, a few, or I think I have 20.
Okay.
You're welcome to have them.
Next, we're going to go. Tom Westbrook is one of the most hundreds, thousands of Ron Paul signs that you saw all over the place was made at his house. No, thousands. They would do 200 to 300 in a day. Okay, Friday night, Dad and his wife. Man, you clean that paint off my driveway or we're divorced, okay? Well, maybe not that bad, it's pretty close. So he got a pressure washer and it worked. We're like, yay! So, well, he's been very involved in this, and he has some things he wants to share about, some stuff that he wants to talk about. But one of the things I wanted him to touch on is that he has a lot of friends and family Mormon, you know, so there's a large family extended throughout the state, different places where, you know, they know to move or have, or communities. And what the options are from his perspective, you know, that you might do. And plus a jury thing, grand jury wants to talk about. Go ahead, Tom Westbrook.
Thanks. Ernie wanted me to just touch on the relocation stuff, and really basically, you know, I have some land in Concho, which Leo talked about a little bit, and I kind of helped Alma get some land up there too, and so that. It's just about getting in a, you know, that looks like a, you know, good place.
Speak up a little bit, please.
Yeah. It's a good location because it's kind of out, you know, there's not a lot of stuff going around. There's a lot of preppers up there. You can go up there and you can find a lot of small plots. What I found was that before the collapse of the economy was that there were a lot of small development projects. They went up there and divided the land up. So you can buy like you know, I bought several 1-acre lots for $350. So you can get, you know, land for pretty much nothing up there. And there's this auction where you can go and you can buy it. They sell it from time to time. And I bought 6 lots and I sold them to a bunch of people, to Alma and to 4409 and a few other people. And anyway, and Ernie got some land up there, kind of in the same area. So
yeah, but I got ripped off. An acre and a half to 1,500.
Anyway, there's some more. You know, there's still opportunities to get land up there for pretty cheap. So anyway, that's the plan on that.
What's the location again?
Concho is the closest town. It's about 15 miles, or it's about I think 30 to 40 miles north of Show Low. Yeah.
That's in Navajo County?
That's in Apache County. Yeah. Yeah.
What highway do you think?
I don't remember exactly. I could show you after, you know, if you want to ask me. 61. Okay. You go up towards
Go towards Payson and you get to Show Low.
Payson and past past Show. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to touch on is you know, basically something that I've been doing a lot of research on recently, which has to do with the law basically, and it's common law and the grand jury process. And the reason I've been interested in that was that you know, we're facing an issue here, and that is tyranny. Basically, that's really what we're talking about. And everyone, we're working on, we want to, get our bug out bags ready, and we want to, emergency situation. But the reality is that this has been going. This is not something new. We're not a generation that's, all of a sudden found ourselves in this situation. This has been going on for literally hundreds, thousands of years. And so, really, I think it's important to study history and say, well, how did the previous generations deal with this? And what I've learned and what I found is over hundreds of years, processes have been developed. Processes in law, and it primarily based in common law. And there's been this kind of battle between the two types of law. One is common law, and one is equity law. Equity law typically in England came from the king, and common law is really the law of the people. And there's a lot of complaint today about victimless crimes, for example. Well, victimless crime can only happen in equity law. It cannot happen in common law, because the requirement for common law is you have to have there has to be a victim, and there's several requirements. The other one is there has to be a jury. And if you look in the legal definition of common law is that it's not sanctioned by a legislature. So originally, common law had nothing to do with the legislature. Statutes didn't apply to common law. Common law is just based entirely on case history. And the jury decides in common law. Jury, that's the people, that's us. So, what I believe the real issue that we are facing is that we've lost control of our grand jury process. The grand jury process is the ability for the people to put bad guys in jail. If we really had that ability to put bad guys in jail, then we wouldn't be worrying about having to, bug out and emergency and all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of why I want to focus on that, and really I've been doing a lot of research I've come to the conclusion that there's a lot of talk about there's anarchism versus constitutionalism, and my opinion, conclusion I've come to is I really believe that under this constitutional form of government we really are free. That was the way it was designed originally. That was the original intent, and that's the way it was designed. And I'm trying to follow back and figure out, well, how do we get off the track? And what is the real problem? And so that's basically what I'm looking at, and we're involved in this. There's different organizations. There's an organization called National Liberty Alliance in New York City. They've been working on organizing what they call common law grand juries, and there's some controversy there about as whether or not that's the right approach or not. There's other approaches that other people are looking at doing. But the bottom line is, the grand jury is controlled by the government now, the county attorney, and he has total authority. And as we saw, like in the case of Andrew Thomas, he was the county attorney, and he started investigating the wrong things. And what happens? The bar just pulled his bar card. So they basically demonstrated to everyone that committed treason against the people. This is a person that was elected by the people. And the bar said, no, you've made the wrong, you made the wrong choice. We're going to pull your bar card and force them to resign. So they basically demonstrated to everyone that they really are above the people, and that's the problem. And so we have to regain control of the grand jury process. And we have enough people in this room right here. We could hold our own grand jury and go decide who we're going to go indict, if we really wanted to. And let me just go ahead.
I just want to tell you, my friend Greg Wheeler has patented his land in Navajo County. He's gone through the process, went through the court system, and he's done it. And there's a land patent group on Facebook, and he's posted all of his paperwork in there. So
what does that have to do with the grand jury thing?
No, I was just going back to the land patent real quick. I'm sorry, Tom.
That's all right. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of a separate issue, but that goes back. It's related. It's all under common law, and so that's kind of what I've been doing research on and learning more about, and what I'm hoping is that we can get more people that are interested in this kind of stuff to kind of understand that we really truly we're meant to be free in this country, and this is really, it was an experiment in people being sovereign, the people being sovereign, and and I think we can get back to that, but it's going to take a lot of study and knowledge, and we need to become experts, because part of being self-reliant, of course, is growing chickens and growing food and stuff like that. But the other part of it is we got to be knowledgeable, and we got to be able to deal with things like law, and how do you deal with if there's someone who's a serial killer or a rapist or something in your community. And you don't want to go call 911. You don't want to go to the government and depend on them, right? We have this is about self-governance, and so that's why we have to we have to incorporate. That's why I think we need to look at common laws being incorporated into our system. But in addition, it gives us the power to defend ourselves from the bad guys, the people who are basically taking over our institutions unlawfully, in my opinion. And once we get control of the grand jury, we can be able to start bringing bad people to justice, and then we can bring order back to our society. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I could probably go on for a long time, but only 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, Tom is, when he sets his mind to something, I mean, he's an IT uber geek guy, but the main thing is he's willing to do a lot of work. That's the big thing. Everybody's all, go ahead, Keith. Yeah, Keith, go ahead and come on up. The big thing is that it's work. And everybody's got an idea of what you should think. Tom's not real loud and have a big voice and all that kind of stuff, but he works. So when he decides he wants to do, that's why I'm interested. Yeah, where are you going? What are you doing? What's up? Because wherever he goes or does, not only is he going to work, a lot of people go with him. He has an enormous support structure of people that already know what he needs and done is done. Done, 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 done. So we're getting ready to do some done. 2015, the year of finish. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We got finished. We started a bunch of stuff. Now we're finishing. But you can see already the people that we've had talk, food, communication, activism, law. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coming together. Thank you. Anything else you want to give real quick?
Unless there's any questions.
No, we're not doing questions now. We'll be for freaking ever. We'll do that at the end. Thanks. Okay. 5-10 minutes. Keith's always got an opinion about something. Okay. So then we're going to go ahead and do Keith and, let me check the list. There was something. Okay, after Keith, then we're going to do Dean, which is Chip. Now you guys know. Dean, Peter, Alan will clean up because he's going to bring us back to reality and say how much government we got to do.
Dave Hodges.
Oh yeah, Dave. Yeah, I'm sorry. Dave. So we'll go ahead and go Dean, Dave, Peter, Alan, because if Peter needs to use the thing, and we'll get him towards the end. Now Keith, I've known since the 90s. He's a heavy GOP, every convention paper, all this paper you keep getting all the time. Keith, okay? If you're at a Republican convention, there was some paper got on your chair somehow, okay? That was him. But he's been going around the states getting property. So let's go. He talked about, he did a seminar on this. Well, he successfully got, what, 2-3 properties, nice big giant, all right, he ain't going to tell you no details because that's his thing. But he warned us, that we need to be doing this, and he's being successful. Go.
Bug out or not bug out? That's the big question we all have. And I think with the nonsense that goes on in this country, just 2 weeks ago, Congress passed a law that can nose in your communications, that you should always be prepared to bug out. Not have bug out is like not having fire insurance on your house. It's stupid. So I think this bug out preparation is essential to our success or whatever. But at the same time, I want to be completely prepared bug it out, but I'd rather do something different, not have to bug out. And so basically what I've been thinking lately is every time like he says, I've been fighting this freedom thing for a long time, and many of you in this room have. I've seen Les and Terry and so many of you for 25 years in this movement. And yet it seems like we're getting farther and farther behind. That's why we have to talk about bugging out all the time. Well, if we look at why every time we want to fight something for our freedoms and it gets taken away, like the law 2 weeks ago, it's always the system. And the system's always using the latest excuse for the last 13 years, and that's 9/11. And 9/11 has to be confronted in this country, and I think it needs to be confronted this year in 2015, because until we confront this, they're always going to use the excuse why they have to take away your privacy, your property, your money, and this type of thing. The best evidence on 9/11, which if you agree or disagree, take a look at the site called Bollyn.com, B-O-L-L-Y-N.
What's that again, Keith?
Bollyn.com, B-O-L-L-Y-N. Bollyn.com, this guy spent 13 years writing an article a month on 9/11.
Christopher Bollyn.
Christopher Bollyn, yes. If this is truth, we need to look at it. If it's crap, let's refute it. But if it's truth, let's pass it on to 10 friends by your email or by a piece of paper, whatever it takes to get this out. Because 9/11 confronted, we may not have to bug out. this thing that Gary just handed out, showing about this really questionable Sandy Hook shooting. These false flags would not control us if we confront them. And 9/11 is the biggest one.
Do you have more of those?
I don't. Gary had it out, but I'll get it back in a minute. Anyway, that's Bolin.com. I think it needs to be confronted. Maybe we don't have to bug out. Let's always be prepared to bug out. I'm preparing constantly.
He's written some good books.
Oh, yeah, 2 great books on this subject. Another thing is real estate. Ernie mentioned the real estate thing. Every one of us, when we're driving around, should have in our minds at least 15 to 20 houses that are vacant somewhere that you know about. Because, again, if you have to bug out, bridges may be somewhat comfortable, but an old vacant house owned by BlackRock might be better. So what I do is when I drive around, I just write down old addresses on a piece of paper. They mean nothing today. I hope I don't have to ever bug out to one of them, but if I do, at least I got something, you know, in the rain or snow like the last week here. So, yes, we have to look at alternative real estate, and I'll be throwing that into the pile. There's a bunch of abandoned properties, and then BlackRock has been taking the phony Federal Reserve money that we all aid and abet by helping the banking system and buying all these houses, and they're just sitting vacant all over. There's probably, I think they bought 40,000 homes in the last 8 years. So think about that in your bug out plan. The last thing I want to discuss is the smart technology. I think if you ever seen a picture of the Trojan horse in Greece, where they brought, or whatever that, they brought that big huge horse in there. They couldn't get past the gates, so they bring the Trojan horse. I want you to have that in your mind, because that's exactly what these people have done to us in the last 8 years, or 13 years actually, with this smart technology. We need to confront it, because if you go bug out somewhere and you have a dang smartphone in your pocket, all your other plans are useless, because today it means nothing, but tomorrow they can gotcha. So be prepared to get over your love affair with smart technology, particularly your smartphone, maybe even a regular phone. You know, think about this.
Encrypted ham radio communication.
Yes, and even that they may be able to jam. So I mean, we have to think ahead. These people are not going to give up easily because they covet the wealth that you've all created. And I'm going to do a final example before I get off this podium. We're going to play Round the Banking World in 50 days. And this is how they're able to finance all this crap that they do. So I want to pass this $100 bill around this house, this room real quickly. About 50 of us in here. Every time you use this, it's semi-anonymous. There's a serial number on it, I think they track, but pretty much it's anonymous. But you use this thing, you're giving the damn bank 3% every time you do, 2.5%, 3%, because this merchant pays that on the transaction. So I want to pass this, don't fool with this, pass it real quickly. Let's pretend that we have 50 transactions a year with this $100 bill. I'm going to pass it to you and just pass it around real quickly. Okay, now it's $97, now it's $94, 3%, $89. And of course, it'll be a little less than this. Now, oh, he works for the government. So I got 91, 88. It's dropping down. Just keep passing around. Imagine 2.5%, 3% taking off that transaction. This is going to pass around every year. We're going to pass this $100 bill. He does plumbing. He does electric. Pass it quickly. Yeah. Oh, it's dropped down to about 72%. There's 69%.
How dirty it is?
No, I'm trying to I want to show you what this thing's worth when it gets back to me. Remember, they're taking 3% off every time I pass it to you and you pass it to me. Okay, now it's down to about 51%, 49. Okay, 49, 46, 43, $41. Let's imagine that in 50 days.
Is it less crisp?
Oh, it's less crisp. It stinks too.
It also has the new tracking.
It sure does. More smart technology. But now that $100 bill just got back to me, and it's now worth 40. This is what we're doing. We're letting them take 3%, and this is how they're buying all this crap they're harassing us with. Think about that next time you use a Visa card. Thank you all.
Thanks. Shane? Shane has recommended it because, you know, I hear all the, you know, constitutional scholar, constitutional expert, go ahead, come on up. Constitution, okay? I'm like, yeah, whatever, okay? I really, but it was the promise of this. There was a promise made What was the promise? How are we going to keep the promise? Where's this promise? Help us out, man. How we're keeping the promise?
Thank you for having me here, Ernie. We had Ernie on my radio show, I don't know, 6 months ago, a radio show that went a bit viral because he and I had it out for about an hour, had a lot of fun, but I appreciate what Ernie's doing. I was a prosecutor for 12 years with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. I retired as a prosecutor, as an attorney 2 years ago for a very simple reason. I recognize that the only way that we're going to even have a remote chance of winning this battle is if you have professional freedom activists out on the front lines. And I want you to just simply ask yourself, do you know any professional freedom activists? No. And when I say professional freedom activists, what I mean is individuals that do this full time.
I am.
I bet we have a few in here. We have a few in here, right? But all of us should be professional freedom activists. I mean, think about what's going on in this country right now. You have nearly 60% of the American population that are receiving some sort of assistance from the government. 38% of Americans receive direct welfare. If you add Medicare and Social Security, you bring that up to about 43%. If you start talking about non-military federal employees, that number now goes up to well over 50%. So the big government statists have a rap on this war right now. They have a rap on this. When you own the printing press, and when you can bust people in, and when you can pay people to go out and be an activist for big government policies, what you have is a bunch of professional freedom takers up against a bunch of amateur freedom makers, is really what it comes down to. Sure. And so what I'm really focused on, I left my job to do this professionally full time. And we might disagree as to basic policies, but I think we all stand on the same foundation. And that foundation is this. Men and women are born free, and men and women cannot be trusted with power. That's the foundation that we stand upon together. And so my effort here is to try and monetize the movement. Now, I've got another speaking engagement at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to pass something around if you're interested in hearing more information about what I plan to do and what I'm doing with other people. Monetize the freedom movement. That is, pay people to go out on the front lines to be an activist. Pay them to do those things. Get them to leave their jobs. I mean, when you talk about finances and what we're doing, if we want freedom bad enough but we're not willing to get out of our own bondage, right, that's an issue. And so we're working with individuals like Ammon Bundy. I'm working with the Bundy family on this. I'm working with Matt Papke on this. Greg Brandon, he was a libertarian candidate out of North Carolina. I'm working with him. Clarence Henderson, 1960 Greensboro, North Carolina sit-in. He says that what we have to do to win the battle is we've got to monetize the movement. Some of the very same things they were doing back in the 1960s. So we're working with some heavy hitters, some big players to try and monetize the efforts. And so we'd love to talk to you about what it is that we're doing, because I believe that this is a cultural battle. We can talk about the election cycle battles all we want. The election cycle battles are secondary. It's the cultural battle. What we see going on in government, what we see going on in our culture today is a direct reflection of the way the people think. You know, to quote Zig Ziglar, he says, "You are who you are, what you are, and where you are is a direct result of what you put into your brain." And right now we have a huge population that buys into big government policies. Why? Well, because we have a media that's feeding them information day in and day out. How do you get professionals out on the front lines to counter these efforts? I want to talk about that, and this is what we're going to be moving forward with. One of the many projects that I'm working on along with the American Academy, which is the nonprofit that I run. But I'm absolutely honored to so many of you that I do know, and so thankful for what it is that you're doing. So we're going to send out a list. I'm going to be heading out, but Matt Papke is going to collect that list, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks so much.
County prosecutors are getting, informed. You know we're in trouble. Okay. What I'm going to do, Dean's going to go next, but Barry's going to do 3 minutes, because that's all it's going to take of what the Libertarian Party's doing. Okay. Come on, Barry, come on.
We'll pass the paper around.
Oh, well, wait a minute. The Libertarian Party is like the center focal point of all liberty. Didn't you know? We've been doing a lot of work. Actually, we've been pathetic. And part of it is the libertarian philosophy is we have this natural reticence to not actually participate in politics. So it kind of puts us in an odd place. But I can tell you what's happening is that people are actually coming aboard. And they are coming aboard in big numbers. Many people didn't realize. But for instance, in this last gubernatorial race, I didn't collect any money from anybody. I was competing against $25 million on both sides. And we still, at some point, were up over 20%. people are with us until the media gets a hold of them and all the other stuff. So there is some good to come of the Libertarian Party structure. I'm obviously not real big, even though I am the vice chair of the party. It might not be the best thing in the world. And I don't know if I'll continue in that capacity at the end of this month. But I will say that one of my goals for 2015, I have a couple of them, but one of the big ones is to try to put together a listing, a mass mailing ability to all liberty-minded people, which would include the libertarians. Now, we ended up with many more than twice our registration. We have the sympathy of the people. And the only reason, for instance, that we can see any kind of political successes, whatever that would be, is that we see the numbers of people who have been polled who say, yes, I was going to vote for you. For instance, in the last election, I was, of 80% of the voters, I was second choice. That was interesting. 90% of those people said the reason they didn't vote for me was because they didn't think I could win. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, we're talking about it could have been the world's largest landslide. So I don't see the political aspects going, really our way, because you're hemmed in. It's like the people who say you should run for the legislature and blah, blah, blah. No, a libertarian can only be effective in an executive position for obvious reasons. You have to curtail your own beliefs if you want to play the game. And we don't. And it's really interesting to see where we're going this year. I want to get more into drones. I like drones. I've been getting to like these drones, and the idea of being able to film things that are going on remotely without ever exposing yourself, because there's a lot to be exposed. All those cop block watchers, for instance, out there that we've seen has gone out of control, and now we've seen it go the other way, where they're going to get something. When I was in college at Fort Apache in the Bronx in New York, that was a place where bad police station, or it was a good police station, middle of the Bronx. They had a game called Shootin' Blues. Anybody wearing a blue uniform was a target. We're starting to see that happen around the country. It's something we should be aware of and discouraging, hopefully, in the greatest degree, but it doesn't mean we have to shy from it. But I think for 2015, we're going to see a lot of things come together, especially economically. We're sitting on the precipice. We should have collapsed 6, 7 years ago, but the smoke and mirrors, and now they've got the Fed buying back its own debt from one pocket to the next. Come on, we can't go any further than that. So that what I can see is my experience in the Soviet Union, which was my specialty. Same thing happened. I think a lot of the fears that we have aren't real, simply because when the government, the economic system collapses, the military can't be paid. The police can't be paid. That's what everybody seems to think, is that the government itself will continue at full strength. It will not. It cannot. And that's something that we should all consider in our little bug out plans. Maybe, like me, I figured it's a hunker down plan. I mean, if they've got a supply line for the bad guys, that's going to be my supply line too. That's what we should be thinking, rather than hiding. Because if we hide, all we're doing is hiding. We're not making any progress. This is a time for activism if we want to continue the American tradition of being free people. At some point, you got to stand up and say, I'm willing. And that's what it's going to take from all of us. So I look forward to a great 2015, just to see what's going to happen. I'm as curious as anybody. One thing we do know that is going to happen is not what any one of us says will happen. That's for sure.
Thank you, Barry. One thing, it was a reporter. It was Dennis Wagner, Wilson, it was a reporter, Wagner. Dennis Wagner, we had, fully informed jury boxes out in front of the federal court building and whatever and so on. And he said something one time. He goes, Ernie, you're always getting noticed for standing up because everyone else is on their knees. This came from a Republic reporter. And I'm going, damn. Why would he? And then he writes this other stuff. I'm going, there's something wrong. Just how these guys think and report. In the middle of that was Dean, my good friend Dean, did 5.5 years in federal prison for conspiring to teach. The Viper Militia. You guys remember that? Yep. We got a view on it from the inside. In the gun culture, he's an encyclopedia on this, on just not only the capabilities of it, but also law. And what the intent is. for a long time. In the 90s, we've done a lot of activism based on the vision and the views that Dean had, directed a lot of our efforts and attention to the point that now we have unrestricted concealed carry. It was a cultural shift. It manifested itself in a lot of politics. But in real fast, 5-10 minutes, I want Dean to kind of get us up to speed of what he thinks is coming.
Thank you. There's a lot to what's going on in the gun community and what we think is going to be happening in the coming years. I know Alan Corwin is going to talk about a lot of that, and I don't necessarily want to steal his thunder, so I'll try and stick to what here in the Arizona gun culture, what our perspective is, what we think is likely to occur. And at the conclusion of this last election, of course, we all noticed how Republicans won big. And there are a lot of gun activists who have gone, oh, and they think they can relax. And I think that's a mistake. Many of you may think that's a mistake as well. Anybody who's a serious activist for freedom knows you never relax. That's always a mistake. And I think it's a big mistake now, bigger than normal, because in addition, we've also had news about this Pew Research poll that recently came out, or maybe it was another organization, but it was a mainstream polling gatherer that has been doing this poll since at least the early 80s, perhaps late 70s, where they asked the public at large in America, what do you think about gun rights? Do we have too many good gun rights? Should they be curtailed? Should we have gun control? And for the first time that they've been doing this poll, the percentile in our favor is now above 50%. More people than ever before are saying gun rights should be protected. We really probably should not be curtailing them. And so again, gun freedom activists have been saying, oh, we've turned the corner. Things are getting great. And I don't want to besmirch how good that news is. However, things are morphing, things are changing. Our opposition, they may be idiots, but they're not stupid, and they've been paying attention as well to the successes, the few of them that they've had, and the many losses they've had. There is, just as in our movement, a generational shift happening. There are the leaders of our movement who are getting up in years, they're retiring, the new generation is moving in. That new generation is beginning to guide, the conservative, libertarian, freedom-oriented end of things. The same thing is happening over on the anti-freedom, collectivist side of things, those who are for gun control. And these new people are now beginning to exercise their influence. They're beginning to say, why have we been losing so much? And among the things they've identified is, every time we have one of these big pushes, it seems it's about to succeed. All these gun people panic. They go out and they buy all this guns and ammo. Prices skyrocket. There's more guns and ammo than ever before. The current president, who we favor, becomes the greatest gun salesman of all time. Maybe this is not right. Maybe we should focus on something else. Maybe we should go back to what we originally formed ourselves for, which was handgun control, access to weapons, primarily by the poor and the minorities. Now, they won't talk about it in those terms today, but that's essentially still the goal. And so, they also now have a sugar daddy, Bloomberg, something they have not had before. And this sugar daddy, this one controller of the purse strings, not only is he funding them properly, from their point of view, he is able to exercise unified control, like Stalin. He's got his hand on that movement. They are now more coordinated because of him controlling that money than ever before. And that resulted in, this last election cycle, despite all the successes that conservatives would point to, Washington State. They had a voter initiative up there, not legislation, a voter initiative that, despite it being a Western state, one of the more liberal of the Western states, the people voted in for universal background checks, including even on private sales between individuals. In Washington State, prior to this election cycle, just like here in Arizona, if I had a gun, my own personal property, and I wanted to sell it to Ernie, he just wanted to give me cash for it, that's all that would happen. There was no requirement to report the sale. We didn't have to go conduct it in front of a police department, nothing like that. It was that way in Washington State until now. And now, this is what they call the gun show loophole, by the way. And you're going to hear more of this term, loophole. You're going to hear about the online sales loophole. This is upcoming. The opponents, our enemies, have realized that they now have the money that they no longer need to focus on achieving legislation. They can go directly to the people, who they feel, as has been demonstrated with Obamacare, People can be defrauded. They can be swayed. They can be turned into useful idiots and vote for things that if it were explained to them honestly, they would not vote for. This is what happened in Washington State. And this is going to be the trend in 2015 going on into 2016. And that is not going to be fought the way it has traditionally, the fighting has been going on between the NRA and the forces of evil. I think those who are for gun freedoms don't perceive that we probably don't have the money to take on Bloomberg directly in this new way that they're going. This is, as Shane was mentioning, a cultural fight, a cultural shift. This is going to require the kind of fight where you individually as a freedom-oriented person are going to need to convince your friends and family, more so than ever before, of what is true freedom, why it's in their interest. It's going to be more important than ever before that you do that than it's going to be to get the right candidate in to fund this one guy who swears he's going to make the right legislation. This is what I think is not only the immediate future of the next 2 years, but probably the next 10 or 15 years. This is the direction things are going. And there's a lot more I could talk about. If you want to ask me more later, feel free. I think my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Bloomberg is coming. Money is coming. Here we go. Okay? So it's a cultural war. We've done thousands of the Safe Second Amendment is for everyone, compilation, DVD, no guns for Negroes, no guns for Jews, no guns for what, and this is, of course, why they have gun control, by Jews for Preservation of Firearm Ownership movies, and a lot of other stuff that's in there. It's an awesome video. When they did Sandy Hook, we did 5,000 of them that we distributed around the valley here. When Bloomberg comes here and he shows his nose in Arizona, itty-bitty bit, we already have activists in Manhattan. They're going to be distributing thousands of them on the subway. Oh, you thought you could leave New York? Okay, so we're going to have some fun with this. I just yell, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Okay, now this is the final bat up here. Dave Hodges. Then we'll go Peter or Alan, or whoever Peter is, and then them. So these are the last three batting up. You're going to get the good. All right, Dave. 9.78 minutes. Good.
I think I can do it in a lot less.
Good.
Appropriately, the thunder's been taken out. It's good. To those of you who've spoken, and Alan who will speak, I'd like you to contact me, Dave Hodges at thecommonsenseshow.com, easy to remember, no dots except for the .com, because through the spring, I'm going to continue to do a lot on preparedness. And where I've been focused on my radio show, which, by the way, you're getting a flyer out here, it has a new home. I've left RBN and with Jeff Payton, known as Erskine Overnight. We've started our own radio network. We're adding some pretty big names, trying to spread the word of freedom. And I'll be getting with Ernie too, because we've been talking about alternative communications because they're going to take us down. And this is a trend. I don't know that it's a 2015 trend, but it'll be done, I think, within 2 years. That they're going to basically drive, they're doing this right now to my website. I've had people in the intelligence community tell me, and Steve Quayle, that they drive traffic away from our websites. In the month of October, I got 1.2 million hits on my website. My Google hits averaged about 12,000 a day. Today, and for the last 2 months, my Google hits have stayed at about 1,800. And they also have nailed me on Facebook. I was getting 4,000 people a day from Facebook coming on, and they just route you through the DNS. It's an NSA job. Google, NSA, Facebook, all the same. You know, the owner of Facebook, the creator supposedly, it's David Rockefeller's grandson. It was an NSA project to begin with. So this is how they're going to silence us. We're going into the mainstream with some of our broadcasting now. We're actually picking up some channels, our stations that Clear Channel has dumped. And we've got a really aggressive affiliate guy. But that requires me to become almost more mainstream sounding, but I'm not. But I'm going to do straight hardcore, the government sucks kind of shows, probably about 50% of the time. And the other stuff is going to be what we're going to need to come out on the other side whole. I'll do shows on, homeschooling, because that's going to become real important as our system fragments into total chaos. And mark my words, this is where it's going.
3 minutes.
I've been beating this like a dead horse on my website. We have a $1.5 quadrillion derivatives debt. That's 16 times more than the entire value of the planet. So when you read in the paper, the stock market is rallying, we should all be happy because the economy is coming back. First of all, you're only talking about the top 1% of the country that owns the lion's share. So that's a health report for the wealthy. It's not for us. And you look at people driving cars and they're in houses and we think everything is normal. No, it's not. Because most of these homes are now underwater and people are leasing their cars at about a 40 to 50% rate. We used to own this stuff. We don't own very much anymore. We are already in a depression. When's the bottom going to fall out? I can't say, but I think 2015 is as likely a year as any year. And again, to all of you who've spoken today, I would really like to hear from you because I want to put your work out in front of my radio audience. And by the way, the good news is my show time didn't vary. It's still 8 to 11, our time, Mountain Time this time of year. It'll shift to 7 o'clock when we change times in March. And goes for 3 hours, and I think it's good listening because we're trying to do a lot of the same things that Ernie has done here for years. Thanks for having me here today, Ernie.
Thank you.
AM or PM?
Pardon me?
AM or PM?
Oh, it's PM. 8 to 11 p.m., Sunday nights. And you can go to my website, thecommonsenseshow.com. We got 31 affiliates from what I'm told by our affiliate guy. But the best way, and I can't tell you who they all are, but the best way to listen is go to my website, click on the Listen to Dave button, and I've got the
commonsenseshow.com. This is, as young activists, and Dean will attest to this, back in the day, he was the one doing the ham radio stuff back then. I remember he's making, cell phone calls with his ham radio on the patch, whatever the heck he was saying, back in the early 90s. We're like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh, this is going to be good. What happened was this. We understood that they, them, those, if they could, they would. All right? So the communication, what you're talking about, is why we're so interested in the distributed internet network. We are not investing any into Facebook. We have a Facebook, we have the Pinterest, we have the Instagram, Twitter, on and on and on. I got all the social media, whatever. It was the beginning of December that this started happening. Okay, the Google chat, because we track all that stuff. I don't get all anal about it, but I see it. And it went like this. But I expected it. Think how satisfied I was to have 5-6 months before that started the integration of the back end to bypass all of that. Because I knew what they were going to do. I knew what they had to do. So we're going to be on the front lines of here it comes, neon I freaking told you so, with not a smile on my face. But we're going to be ready. And hopefully from today you can see that there's a lot of people that have been thinking about this and doing it. See, I'm so sick of this. You know what you should do? You know what I've been doing? This is why I want to talk about it. I want to do it. 4 years, fourth year, we're going in the Jackalope. You go up there, it's really 70-something degrees during the day. How chill is Jackalope, man? I mean, it is awesome. Bunch of kids running around, having a great time. It's now. Now, the last two speakers are going to be, all right, Peter, Alan, pick. Who wants to go? All right, Peter, we got you set up here. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
What we're going to do is, Peter's experience with the TSA is such that he is just like, oh, I want to get some. So I want to make sure that he understands that there is a lot of people out here that are definitely interested in what he's doing. Definitely interested in what he's learned. Definitely interested in his perspective. Mark Vickers is attorney on the... I told him that I could tell Peter wasn't done. I told Peter, Mark, that he better start working up a volume discount for Peter. Okay? You think I'm kidding? I said, man, get the volume discount ready. He ain't done. All right? So recently, I just got we haven't done the show on it yet. He just got on a plane that they kicked him off of. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not allowed. So what we're going to do is in 10 minutes, he has something that he's not done yet. What is he going to do? We're going to find out. Peter Simons.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Ernie. Can everybody hear me okay? What? What? Alan, you're always deaf. Okay. So I'd like to present today a guide to what I'll call a TSA administrectomy. All right? And this is a plan, actually, that Ernie and I have been discussing and a number of other people for how to deal with the TSA in Arizona. And, probably I'm speaking to the choir here. In terms of the TSA, almost everybody hates the TSA in one way or another. They're ineffective, of course, remarkably ineffective. A lot of people don't realize the TSA only actually catches about 15% of attempts to carry contraband through their checkpoints, which means the other 85% is making it through. Do any of us think that terrorists are going to be deterred by a 15% chance, okay, that one of them might be caught by this? It's absurd. And I found this out personally recently when they asked me to get off the plane. I was discussing with my family members I was trying to travel with afterwards, and I found out that 2 of my family members, I didn't dare do this because I'm on their list, but 2 of my family members recently have been inadvertently carrying pocket knives through the checkpoints, and they've gone through no problems. Okay, so they don't catch anything. Not only that, they've never thwarted a single terrorist attack. There's no evidence that they do. They always say, well, we can't tell you, it's a secret. Okay? There's no evidence that they have ever thwarted a single terrorist attack. You talk to the public about this, they say very silly things. Well, what about the shoe bomber? Well, wait a second, the shoe bomber was on the plane trying to ignite his shoes. Obviously, the TSA didn't catch him. Okay? Basically, there are 100 times more cost-effective ways to spend the $10 billion that we're spending on the TSA and airline security if what we actually want to do is save people's lives. I'm not joking. They figured out the numbers. There are books on this. 100 times more effective ways to spend the money. Doing simple things like buying more children bicycle helmets or constructing tornado shelters in the Midwest. All right? And the main reason for this is the fact that the odds of being killed in any terrorist attack, let alone a terrorist attack on an airline, are 1 in 20 million years of life. Only 3% of those involve airports or airlines. Your chances of being killed in a terrorist attack on an airport or an airline are 1 in 600 million years of life. It just isn't going to happen to you. Okay? All right. In addition to the fact that TSA is ineffective, okay, wait, why am I not? Okay. They actually are a public health hazard. And as a doctor, this is one thing I find very offensive. Okay? Short-haul flights have decreased 7%, largely due to TSA hassles and delays. People displaced to driving short distances from here to Las Vegas, here to LA.
4 minutes.
Okay, and this results, is that left or total?
Left.
Left. Okay, fine.
Skip to the end.
Okay. Because driving is so much more dangerous, and given the number of flights that people take, this means that the TSA, we're spending $10 billion a year to kill 500 people a year on our roadways. Okay? Okay, so not only are they not doing any good, they're killing people. But what's most important to me, and what I find so offensive, is that the TSA is making a mockery of our liberties. Okay, and this goes back to, I think, Ernie's point about a mindset. That we can say the TSA is ineffective, we can say that they're killing people, but the average person only deals with the TSA twice a year, and so doesn't get very upset about it. But this is a mind game, okay? Making American citizens do this and put up with this, okay? Simply because we want to travel somewhere, okay? It's an outrage, okay? And we should all be outraged and we should be rid of the TSA. How do we do it? We can start because it turns out that you can actually, at least with respect to the screeners, there's a law that says you can replace the TSA's government employees and their little bureaucracy that they're running with private screeners. Okay, the TSA tried to stop this in 2012, but they actually passed a law saying they had to still accept applications to do this. All right, it's been measured that the performance has been as good or better than government employees in performing screening, if you think that's an important function. And in addition, the responsiveness of passengers has been improved. So I say that we adopt an approach, okay, of trying to do this in Arizona. In Arizona, we should take the airports and we should replace these government bureaucrats, okay, with private contractors who are doing the screening. Okay, this is under the control of our local governments. It's something we can do here. And what do we need to do? We need to have a multi-pronged campaign, right? One of the things is we need to get more information out to the public about the ineffectiveness of the TSA and how it doesn't work. Okay, we have to get in touch with our local airport boards and politicians, okay, and push them to make these changes. There's a number of legislative steps we could take. For example, the TSA agents, they are not officers, they are not law enforcement officers. They have to call the police to have someone arrested. You could actually make it illegal for local law enforcement to assist the federal government. All right? Finally, we can do activism, right? We can carry ridiculous items onto the plane. You can bring a 4-inch scissors. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do that illustrate how absurd this is. Hand out these items to travelers. We can identify TSA employees. They hate it. What I was doing before I was thrown off the plane was I was simply going around and saying, you're a TSA employee who's trying to search someone here. I want you to identify yourself. You're required by regulation to give me your last name, your badge number, okay, and your rank. They hate it when you do that, okay? We can identify these people. We can post their names on the web if we want. Ostracism works, right? This is one of the things the founders did, okay, before when they were protesting, you know, the tea taxes and the Stamp Act, okay, is they went around and they said, look, we don't like you people doing this, and if you keep doing it, we're not going to deal with you anymore, all right? So anyway, these are our some goals I have for 2015, okay? By the end of 2015, I think we can, in fact, by working on our local politicians and so on, we can, in fact, basically get politically things started so that the airports are scheduling the screeners to leave, these TSA government bureaucrats, okay, that are sexually harassing everyone. And I think within another year after that, we could actually have them replaced by private screeners. This is something we can do, okay, to get rid of this outrage, okay, of basically mocking everyone's liberties just because they want to travel. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Peter. And then we discuss, you know, how many private screeners I want. Anyway, there is a whole mindset that we're dealing with here. Now, someone that does a lot of this, the mindset dealing with the press. We got to be nice to the press right up in the last day that they don't even publish anymore. I'm already way past it. But Alan deals with the press. Alan goes to a lot of different forums. Alan deals with a lot of politicians. Alan sees the political realm and the laws on guns. There are efforts that are coming. We heard about Bloomberg coming. I can't wait, man. Bring them on, bring them on, bring them on. Because that controversy creates commitment. And I've been using that for decades. So I need a big giant battle like Bloomberg, you know, because it makes me look tall. Okay? Alan Corwin, go, man.
Thank you, Ernie. I don't know. Thank you. I don't know if you realize it, but TSA is also screening people at the football games.
Yes, they are.
They got TSA screeners there. Get rid of them first. Ernie said, I'm going to tell you what's happening at the legislature. I'd be crazy to tell the morons in this room what's happening at the legislature. Nothing personal, guys. I know you're all very bright. You go to gunlaws.com, this website of mine, and I'll fill you in on what's going to happen at the legislature. I'm certainly not going to reveal plans like that in an open room with cameras rolling. That's stuff we do quietly. You already spoke about all the corruption at the political rallies. This stuff is done quietly. Bloomberg is coming here, is planning on spending money. There's people who understand what's going on in that, and we are at great risk. Now, Ernie and I don't agree on the bug out thing. Some of that just does not hold up to scrutiny. And if we ever have a conversation, man to man, face to face,
I'd win.
about what he thinks, it does not hold up to scrutiny. Running away, not the solution. And unless you run away real early, you can't get there because it's a 2-lane highway, it blocks up, and now you don't have a toilet, you don't have supplies, you're stuck in a car with thousands of other people. That's a disaster. That's not going to work. Now, will the United States last for 1,000 years?
No.
100 years? In some rooms they'll raise their hands. 50 years? 10 years? It won't last 1,000 years. What's coming next? What I want to see is preparation now to improve what's going to happen later. And that you can do. Now, any large group of people ends up with governance. Governance. The people organize. When you go to one of Ernie's runaway things in August, and you stay there for a week or two, everything's fine while the supplies last. When the supplies run out, things don't run as well. And I've always said there are two great examples of freedom in this country. One was mountain men in the 1830s. Before there were fences, you could go off and do whatever the hell you pleased. There were actually no restrictions, and you had pure freedom. You could enjoy it. The other one is contemporary, and that's distributed camping. which is basically what he's describing, and I do and many of you have done. You go out into the woods with your friends or by yourself, you set up a campsite, and you're free. You go with 6 families, and you decide where you're going to camp among yourselves, no government. You do whatever you want, you're free. You get the site with the rocks, and he gets the site with the pine needles. You argue among yourselves, and it's pure freedom, anarchical pure freedom, but it only lasts while you have food in your cooler, which you got through technology and society. And law and order is commonly done, but it lasts while the supplies last. You have to make your stand in your home. That's what happens if society collapses. You try and bug out once the problem hits, and if you remember the gasoline shortages, you don't get a warning. You just don't. You have to get on that 2-lane highway and try and get up there. That doesn't work. You've seen the photographs. So you either move there ahead of time and have a farm, or you imagine this absolute nonsense that Ernie described, that you're going to make 100,000 pounds of meat with 200,000 pounds of grain. Where the hell are you going to get 200,000 pounds of grain? You're going to grow it, right. And so is everybody else on a factory farm with a tractor, with fuel. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny. So I'm in favor of societies running. And with 4 million people in Metro Phoenix running to the White Mountains, that doesn't work either. So I'm in favor of society still running, and we'll manage to keep running it. And if the United States doesn't last, the 4 million people in Phoenix will either die and you'll have a real problem with pestilence, or they'll manage to keep running because the farms will keep running and the grain will be delivered here, and we'll build rabbits, shelters, and we'll have cattle, and society will keep running even in the worst conditions that the Soviet Union's ever experienced or that Africa has ever experienced, and we'll have something approaching rule of law, because any society over 1,000 ends up with governance, and Ernie gets up there in this autocracy, which is basically what it is, and he tells you stand in line for your piece of pig. And you stand in line. And if you jump the line, everybody beats the hell out of you and sends you to the back of the line. There's law and order. There's a rule. There's a way it works. Now, you know I wrote this book, right? But you're familiar with it being blue, right? The Arizona Gun Owner's Guide? This is the 26th edition. It came out last week. 26th edition. This describes what the gun laws are. And there's a reason Arizona has the best gun laws in America, 2 years running according to Guns and Ammo magazine, and since 2010, by my analysis, Bloomfield Press, my company. We have the best gun laws, and the reason is education. This backs up what Shane Krauser said. He said monetize freedom. That's really good. I'm doing it through capitalism. We are an educated gun-owning public. That makes a difference. We push back against the police. I'm going to have to confiscate your gun, sir. And our guys say, well, Officer 133102 says this gun is legal in my holster. Is there anything else you need? I'm busy. And the cop doesn't know how to respond, and he leaves. And it's great. They want to take your gun from you in your car. And you say, officer, the gun's in the car. I'm legal. Do you have anything else? Do you have any probable cause? What's your badge number? And the cop doesn't know what to do. And the judges know it, and the courts know it, and we have the best gun laws in the country. I want to see this happen nationwide. And I'm working on a national approach to what I've done here as a cottage industry. And you help this by getting a copy of this book, and I don't have enough for everybody, but I have some. They're $20, I autograph them, and then you know what the gun laws are, and you know when you can shoot a bad guy and when you can't, and when you'll go to jail and when you won't. And if society collapses, you can use this for kindling, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. And you need a gun today, and you can buy one without paperwork. You got to know how to do it. Or you buy one with paperwork, and you got to know how to do that. and you can carry it with no paperwork, because in 2010, we passed that law. The Arizona Citizens Defense League, after 16 years of work in the system that Ernie says doesn't exist, with fiat money that Ernie says is worthless, that gentleman passed around that's still worth $100, that I'll take, please. That I have one of those too that's worth $100. We did it the right way in the system. If the system disappears, you need to defend your home, because you will not be able to run away when the system collapses, and it hasn't collapsed and it's not about to tomorrow or the next day. And Ernie will have the Breakfast Club here next month, and you'll use paper money to buy food here, not to grow rabbits with 2 pounds of grain for 1 pound of rabbit. And how many of you have eaten rabbit lately? Don't raise your hand. They don't even serve rabbit here. It's so good and so cheap and so easy, right? They serve chicken, which you can also feed with scraps. How many of you have 100 pounds of scraps? And that comes from food. Right, Ernie does, but he wears a tie and carries paper money. The point is, you need to be educated. He uses electricity, which he doesn't, maybe he gets from solar, for his smartphone and his ham radio. That stuff doesn't hold up to scrutiny. This does. The air conditioning and the TV and the cold beer and the refrigerator and the gun laws that you need to know to be an informed consumer and an informed gun owner. The Constitution makes sense. Now, how do you fix the legislature? We're going to pass good laws, we're going to defeat bad laws, and we're going to repeal laws through the system. The common law system, the statutory law system, the constitutional system. I'm a scholar in this stuff. I follow it, I work it, I make it happen, and it makes a difference. And I fund myself through publication like Thomas Paine with Common Sense. That book is still in print. My company sells that book. That book is fabulous. You should get one. It's only like $7. It's 230 years old. It's one of the best books ever written. Common Sense. It's what founded our nation. We sell a set of 10 of those books that the founders either read or wrote, going back to the 1500s, and Machiavelli, and Common Sense, and the Rule of Law. Those books make a difference. We are the best gun law state in the country because people found out what the laws are, and I recently discovered this was the first book on gun laws ever written in the country, back in 1989. People imitated it, and other states are knowledgeable too. I want to see every state brought up to this level, and that will defeat Bloomberg faster than your damn bug-out bag. Sorry for being so blunt. Make your bug-out bag if it makes you feel good. Prepare a place out in the White Mountains if it makes you feel good. But tomorrow, you face cops on the street, retail gun stores. You need guns, you need ammo, you need to know what you're doing so you don't end up in more trouble in the crook. And about the media, Ernie's going to give me 1 more minute for the media. Let me tell you how bad they are.
Or you'll shoot me.
Not allowed to do it. Page 37.
You wouldn't get the shot off.
Maybe. I don't even want to try. Not in this room. If it's about guns and it's in the media, it's probably completely wrong or even backwards. There was a guy in Ohio, bought a pair of sneakers, Air Jordans, I don't know if you saw this story, and some guy who was not described as black, but his name was Jamal Jabbar, so you guess, couldn't get the sneakers, so he holds the guy up outside the store at gunpoint and says, "Give me your sneakers." The guy's a CCW permit holder. I don't like permits, but that's the only way you can carry in Ohio. The guy draws his gun, shoots him in the chest, and kills him.
Good.
So the guy is a robbery victim and survives, and the perpetrator is listed in the news reports as teenager shot dead over shoes. The guy's a felony robbery, assaulter, right? He's the criminal. He's the perpetrator. The newspapers call him the victim. If he's the victim, then who's the guy who was being assaulted and robbed? They get it exactly backwards. And they don't mention that the guy was a black armed robber. They leave that out, but they do name him Jamal Jabbar. And in the video, there's a picture of him. And of course, he's black. So let me give you the last example of this. Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager shot dead by a white police officer. That's called the mandatory line. Every reporter uses it. Anytime they say Michael Brown, they say the unarmed black teenager shot dead by a white police officer. While that is technically accurate, it is completely misleading. Here's the accurate mandatory line that they never use. Michael Brown, a robbery suspect, shot while attempting to disarm a police officer, an aggravated felony.
You don't know that. You don't know he was trying to disarm.
He gets
Now,
if I can be quiet.
his blood was found in the police car.
There's a reason for that.
If I can be quiet.
Just like the police officer claimed. He was shot twice by the police officer while he was inside the window, and his blood was found on the police officer's hand, gun, and in the car. He was a robbery suspect, that's on video, and he was shot while attempting to disarm the police officer. Now, you attempt to disarm Ernie, that puts Ernie in deadly threat, because if you get Ernie's gun, what are you going to do with it? Ernie's at risk. He should shoot you if you try that, and that is perfectly justified, Chapter 5. It does not matter if you're armed or not. It matters if your life is at risk. The media will never report that. So Michael Brown, a robbery suspect, shot while attempting to disarm a police officer, no black, no white, that's accurate. Every news report should say that, and no news reports do to this day. Thank you very much. I have copies in the back. Be glad to autograph one for you.
Thank you, Ernie. There was a reason why we have Alan go last, and I will tell you what it is. No, you guys can discuss this after. Hey, be quiet! We're almost done. This is my point. I've been doing this for 25 years, known Alan for a long time of that. This is what's happened. There is a concept that I learned from Jeff Greenspan, the Southwest coordinator for the Ron Paul Revolution. You'll get all this information of what people are actually doing. And then you have people come in and take on the role of cooler. It's an actual thing that happens. They'll come in, everything that you heard, all the optimism, all the things that we need to do, all the things that are being done, all of the things that we're getting prepared, that we're helping to move this culture to have these changes. We'll be involved in the Bloomberg thing. We'll be involved in people getting prepared and understanding. That is an economic force on a lot of this other stuff. I give you an example. When the government came in and they said after the Depression or during Depression time, they wanted to control what crops you can grow and how much. These thousands of pounds of grain for your chickens or whatever. And they said, he goes, hey man, you can't control me. I'm growing my own product on my own land for my own livestock. And they go, because you are not in the system that he supports, we can control you because we have the power of interstate commerce. Interstate commerce gives this Constitution thing the power to tell you what you can do to sustain yourself and your livestock. Do this after. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I want to analyze this, what just happened. There is always going to be the person that comes up, no, we need to fix the system. At some point, I hope that you'll come to the conclusion that the system is not able to be fixed. It was never created to be fixed. It is there to have you as a dial that they turn to control the left jackboot or the right jackboot or the jackboot on your throat party. Okay? How are you going to be ruled? Once you start changing that mindset, all this other stuff starts to fall away. So I wanted you to experience, because I knew what Alan was going to do. I would have bet money, okay?
Yeah, but you got it wrong twice.
So I am encouraging you to take all this information and pay attention to exactly what Alan just said. Over the next couple of years, 2015, 2016, some of us are going to be preparing to just survive, thrive, be free, rest, left alone community. And we communicate with others. That's what the Levolution showed that can happen. Some of us will choose to work within the system. Some of us will be like Matt. Matt went whole hog into it. He'll go and we'll see what happens there. We have Navajo County, Constitutional County project that they're doing up there. We may help and promote that a little bit. But why? Because we think voting's going to fix it? Because we think delegating authority to some entity is going to fix it? I just want to be able to fix it myself. And where you find government has gone wrong is the just leaving you alone or protecting you being able to solve your own problems. So when we have issues or problems about how much food we can grow or where we can do it or what we can build, a friend of mine, Randy, hosted the party. We had a New Year's Eve party. He said, you know, my two daughters, I taught them one thing. If something in society just doesn't make sense, look for the government connection. And that's all I have to do. And I want to extract myself from. And while Alan focused on the Brown case, he didn't mention Eric Gardner's case. Now the thing is that we keep track. Powell puts up all these abuses of law enforcement and so on in Freedom's Phoenix every day. And it is overwhelming. It is not a black-white thing anymore. It is a coercion thing. It is a revenue thing. And this is going to become more and more obvious. That's why I wanted to do this at the beginning of 2015. The reasons and the abilities for what we have already done. There are going to be people just like Alan saying, not only should you not worry about it, it's you're crazy and tinfoil hat for even doing it. So, and not only are we talking about the health that we've had, how much better we live, how much healthier I am, how much, we're not dependent on, this whatever medicine they call it. I'm not even sure what they call it. It's not making you healthy. So I want you to be encouraged, talk to the people here that are doing it. But I want you to remember what Alan said, what Alan's message was, because it's been the same for years. As it continues to get worse and worse, the big argument between Alan and I, are we in a police state? He would say no. Based on what evidence? Okay? So I say, yeah, by every stretch of the imagination, it's more and more and it's going to keep getting worse. How do we deal with that? Voting? So this was a very good meeting. You can see that people have not taken this tack or shared, like with Matt. We were very supportive of Matt doing. You need to do this because you need to see if that is the way to go. 2015. It is going to be an awareness and understanding and an evaluation of these two very different views. I think what's coming is going to be overnight. It's not going to happen all at once, but it will happen overnight. It's going to be a Monday thing, and all of a sudden something, what the hell, we're Greece, Italy, Cyprus, Venezuela, Argentina, Chile. I mean, this is not a secret. There is new technology that's coming out. Honduras went to crap, okay? The new government has come in. I just had this show done last couple of days. A new government came in and they understood that you can go to any bureaucrat or clerk and have the 100, 300, 400-year-old tablet of this is my valley, farm and since whatever. Yeah, well, it wasn't in the government thing, and we got this guy, he's got a piece of paper with a stamp and it's ours now. This has been going on for decades in Central and South America. Honduras took a plummet. What did they do? They went to the blockchain technology, and there is a company called Factum. They are multi-signature, register land, your car, your bicycle, your computer, whatever, on the blockchain. An entire country is developing this now. March, they're doing what they call bit drop. The entire country of Dominica, 73,000 people are getting a Bitcoin wallet and $10 in Bitcoin. Don and I are going down there because I just want to see how long it takes for the U.S. destroyers to go off the beach. That's all I want to know. This is happening now. All the signs are bad. If you listen to what Alan has said, you might just want to buy a radio for $50 just because. you might want to just get a little bit of information on some essential oil. You might want to know what web page to go. You might want to, listen to, Dave Hodges' show or subscribe to the newsletter on Freedom's Phoenix. Because we're going to know, it's going to be very soon, in the next year or two, this documentation of this video is going to be what we had to say and Alan's perspective. Who's going to be right or wrong? Alan says he is. To what degree? We've been doing this past 10 years since the Ron Paul thing. The value of your dollar is, Keith demonstrated with that $100 bill, is 40% less. But gasoline's $1.89 a gallon.
All right. Yeah.
And as a flush out alternative, whatever, but it's changing. What's changed? People don't care. They're going to go electric anyway because of the autonomy, because of the production capacity that you can do it yourself. Because I'm sick and tired of working on carburetors. Seriously. I got a lawnmower, I'm still dealing with carburetor right now. I'm so sick of this internal combustion. So many things are changing because of Generation Next. And anyone that was involved in the Levolution knows this to be true. When we go to Pork Fest 4 or 5 years ago, hey dude, you can smoke there and peace. Wow, and smoke kind of. A few years later, everybody's healthy, they lost a lot of weight, they're not smoking anymore, they got all their little kids, and they're training them to be self-sufficient. Yeah. The world is changing, and it's going to be in the next couple of years. I want you to remember what everybody had to say, Alan's perspective, it's on video. Year or two from now, remember, peace.
Arm up.
I'm not even sure what you think my perspective is, Ernie. And things may change on a day with martial law or a collapse. It's possible. They may gravitate. As far as a police state, we certainly have elements of it. But you can still buy guns and ammo at retail. You can still hold a meeting like this. So we're not in a police state. Go to Iraq, go to a police state, see what it's like. You'll find out we're not that yet. We still have elements of it, we're moving in that direction, but we're not there. Go to a police state, find out what it is, and it'll temper your sense of that. As far as the guy with the cigarettes, think about this. Everybody wants cameras on police. Cameras in that situation didn't resolve it for the grand jury, did it? And if you think you can base your judgment on what happened there on 12 seconds of video that CNN played 1,000 times, there was other evidence. Had to be, because the grand jury found something opposite of what CNN wanted you to find. What was the other evidence? I haven't seen anything. There must have been something. We did have a secret, that we did have a system. People watched. And what was it? I didn't see it. There must have been something exculpatory, and I didn't see it. I have no idea. So for me to make a judgment, I have to withhold my judgment as a reasonable human being and say, what was the other evidence? I didn't see it, but they had something to make the decision. And you're foolish to say, well, based on the 12 seconds that CNN played 1,000 times.
Okay, just, Alan, Frank's got to do the drawing. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
We're getting better.
We're going to, year two, it won't be long we have to wait. Alan and I, this discussion that's been going on for 2 decades is coming to where we're going to, somebody's going to get to say, I told you so.
Ernie, can I have about...
No, they've got to do the thing first.
I don't get time, you don't get time.
Everybody that spoke, go ahead and come up here. Frank's going to do the thing. We want to take a picture of everyone that's here that made a presentation, because Barry always has a picture.
What happened to the Q&A?
It's
all
What happened to the Q&A, man?
All right, you guys.
Finish this.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is a drawing for the books. First choice. I gotta put my glasses on first. Wait a minute. 7901. 7901 back there.
Terry.
He was telling me, oh, I don't win anyway. Well, I don't need a ticket. Second choice. 7903.
Hey, I got one.
Yeah. The books are right up here along the front on the wall there. Hey, all right. 7905.
Oh,
Here, get in here, Alan. You can't hide.
7905.
Right here.
There you go.
For evidence.
Take your choice before everybody else gets up
Wir
there.
sind ein Bild gemacht. Mach schnell.
Okay, we'll get in.
Kommen Sie her.
Let's get in. Get in. I'm shorter, I guess I can.
Wait, we can scoot down that way a little bit.
Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next
We're not done.
first Saturday of next week.
Thanks, Frank. Okay, everybody sideways, front in. Sideways, 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 sideways. Turn in. Okay, good enough.